And welcome everybody to the Daily Space Weather. We're back so far, and the first imagery we were showing you there was 171 angstroms from the SDO. Two named sunspot groups at the moment. Some activity rising in the east. High-speed coronal hole wind stream currently arriving at Earth. Looks like it might be subsiding. We'll get to it. First, the colorized magnetogram. Again, just two sunspots, and they're small. They're not complex. They're not likely to produce major solar flares. Here's 171 angstroms plus the colorized magnetogram. The 10.7 centimeter radial flux down to 79 solar flux units. There's the 1-year chart. It's that black line. And the Space Weather Enthusiast dashboard not forecasting any geomagnetic unrest or anything like that. NOAA expecting the coronal hole wind stream to subside as well. Something that we're expecting to uptick significantly here is seismicity. So we haven't seen a 7 magnitude earthquake since the 2nd of October. So it's a pretty long earthquake drought. If you're in an earthquake prone zone, please be prepared. Earthquake droughts end in large earthquakes. It's been a lull in earthquakes over the past 24 hours on a global basis. And I'm just scrolling up the list here on the USGS site to see if there's anything noteworthy. Looks like nothing even over a 5 magnitude over the past 24 hours. Oh, there was a 5.2 at the South Sandwich Islands region. So that's actually the most seismically active region on the planet now. Perhaps all of those are foreshocks going on for weeks and weeks there, with just a series of quakes there at the South Pacific, Antarctic, and South Atlantic tri-plate boundary. At least one deep quake, as that 4.6 at Fiji was estimated to be over 520 kilometers depth. And shout out to Anton Petrov, who did a video about earthquake depths just yesterday. Drop us a line, Anton. We'd be more than happy to interview you. By the way, looking at getting Tamitha Skov on the channel soon. We're excited about that. Shout out to Tamitha. We hope your Thanksgiving week is going delightfully and that everything is all squared away with your daughter. So La Palma, looking at volcanism here, La Palma is indeed exploding. It's producing an 8,000-foot ash plume as it steadily erupts over quite a long period at this point. Can anybody leave us a comment and let us know how long it's been erupting for in the current series of eruptions? And check out the rest of the list here. Suwanosejima, likely exploding. Volcanic ash cloud size unknown. Don't fly your hang glider over the caldera. Semeru exploding also. That's on East Java, Indonesia. 14,000-foot ash plume there. Santiaguito in Guatemala remains on the list here. A visible glow and near constant emissions of gas suggest continuing rise of fresh viscous magma into the active caliente lava dome. Occasional explosions have produced a 15,000-foot ash plume. Also Fuego, located in Guatemala. Flight level 150 from Fuego as it explodes. Nevado del Ruiz exploding. 20,000-foot ash plume over Colombia from Nevado del Ruiz. Sangay exploding. 19,000-foot ash plume from Sangay. Intermittent emissions from Sabancaya are a reminder to not square dance about the caldera. And Nevados de Chilean exploding once again here in central Chile. It's producing a flight level 140. And I'd like to invite all of our viewers to check out our merch. You can find a link to it on the homepage at smashomash.com. It's our Redbubble shop, where we would remind you to forgive and remember and hold accountable. And we would also remind you that resistance is fertile. Respect existence or expect resistance. And last but not least, do not pole vault the caldera. These are in order of best selling. Please don't pole vault the caldera. Tell your friends and foes. And through the day today, there is a continued 25% off sale for all apparel. So use the promo code 25OFF apparel on all clothing to save 25%. Again, you can link to it from our homepage at the smAsho merch shop. Thanks to everybody who's picked up merch. The print quality is spectacular. Tell your friends and foes about us. We need your assistance to keep these videos in existence. So thanks to everybody who's done so, especially the Smash team. More on that later. Next, some magnetic data. Here's the GOES magnetometers over the past 3 days. And this time we see the GOES 17 was doing some maneuvering there. As you see an arc jet moment. That's plasma created by the spacecraft's thrusters. And Earth is remaining in a South Pole current sheet at the moment. There is a North Pole current sheet speeding this way, shown in green. Here we're going to bring up the latest image. There you can see there is a North Pole current sheet just arriving at stereo A now. So a polarity switch happening out there for the current sheet, and it's headed our way. We'll be keeping an eye on that. And when I say eye on, well, the pun is intentional. Pardon the pun. It's intentional. Here's a line of sight coronal hole plot. You can see this blue line dipping down way to the south. Perhaps an indication there is some activity indeed forming down there. If I had to guess, I'd guess there's going to be a sunspot forming in the southern hemisphere based on the magnetic data. Also, the coronal hole line of sight plot. You can see this trans-equatorial coronal hole here of southern polarity there, shown in red. Also one right behind it of northern polarity. There's the latest image from the line of sight coronal hole plot. And here's a visual of it from the 193 angstroms ultraviolet wavelength there from the Solar Dynamics Observatory. Not too shabby. Next, your flare probability in detected sunspot groups. The likelihood of major flares is not there. The likelihood of additional coronal mass ejections is there. We've been watching one go very slowly over the past about 3 days. Coronal mass ejection warning remains in place until further notice. Smash Team got an update about that yesterday at smashomash.com/smashteam. Make sure you log in to see all the posts at your specific paid level if you are a paid member, or if you're a bronze member. You'll even see different stuff at bronze versus not logged in. So make sure you log in at your paid subscription level. Next, solar flaring over the past 3 days. There's the GOES X-ray flux. No major flares. The likelihood of major flares remains low. No spikes in the proton flux there. No surprises to our regular viewers. Let's go to the real-time solar wind, which has been subsiding a little bit here over the past 24. Yesterday, it reached all the way up to about 700 kilometers per second. Now it's down to more like about 560 kilometers per second. And the density is about 8 protons per cubic centimeter. We never saw a powerful BZ component in the negative territory yesterday, and we never really saw any geomagnetic unrest from the current coronal hole wind stream, despite its sustained high speeds. Again, it reached all the way up to 700, and yesterday it was in the 600s for a large portion of the day. KP index is a measurement of global geomagnetism, and we're currently at a KP3. Actually, we're at a KP0. It went from 3 to 0 here. I didn't even see that little bar. Check it out. KP0 is the current state of affairs. So we're expecting the coronal hole wind stream to subside promptly here. Here's the magnetohydrodynamic pressure over the past 4 hours. And don't be surprised to see this fall off toward the end of the video as well. 4 hours of data there. The scale modeled in this model is nanopascals, which is magnetohydrodynamic pressure. You're looking at Earth's likely geomagnetic moment there, and it's gathered from a lot of data. If you want to read about it, click on details, click on the Space Weather Modeling Framework on the Geospace Magnetosphere Movies page, and you can read all about the Space Weather Modeling Framework. Here's another 4 hours of data. These are ground magnetic perturbations at the surface level of the Earth, geospace delta B. We are indeed seeing some magnetic pulses here coming out of the Pacific Ocean. Some in South American region. We're going to actually let this play through a second time here, as we do see some perhaps interesting changes to Earth's B field at the moment here. We show it daily. There is a polar excursion going on at the moment, and the South Pole isn't even on Antarctican continent anymore. It's in the Southern Ocean, somewhere south of Australia. And the North Magnetic Pole is someplace south of Siberia. Eastern Siberia, I might add. Anyway, perhaps this gives us some insight into the internal structure of planet Earth, right? 4 hours of data there. That's in nanotesla magnetic flux density. Next, a solar system forecast. Here's where stuff is now. We'll advance it 1 week. And there's where things will be in a week. That is a crescent waning on November 29th. Let us know what you're having for Thanksgiving, by the way. We might make a video about leftover recipes. So now I'm trying to regain control of my computer. Please bear with me. That's a little bit better. And now we're looking at a star chart here in the-sky.org. If you're wondering, today's ecliptic plane travels through Virgo and Leo and Gemini, Taurus, and sets near Aries. The yellow line is the ecliptic, the blue line is the galactic plane. It's in the-sky.org. And let's take a look at our coronal mass ejection watch from the perspective of L5, Lagrange point 5, where stereo A is, and L1, where the Soho-Lascaux C3 is, which was on the right, stereo A on the left. Coronal mass ejection warning continues. Mercury visible here on the Lascaux C3. Let's continue on. To do a brief cosmology segment, today's random number is 930. It's a, quote, random and quote number. Let's see how random it is. 930 is IGR J20187 plus 4041, a type of active galactic nuclei, a type of active galactic nucleus known as a Seyfert 2 galaxy. These are the X-ray transient outputs. The X-ray transient output from that active galactic nucleus. The lower left is the 30-day chart. You can see in the upper right, that's the 16-year chart. It's a pretty consistent X-ray source. Let's go to SIMBAD, which will direct us to the CDS portal. So we'll take a look at this in some different frequencies here. So first, it's some colored imagery here on the DSS. This is optical on the DSS, and you can see it's quite dim there in optical wavelengths. And we get a little bit more data there, a little bit higher resolution, it looks like, on the pan-stars. And there's that active galactic nucleus. Not exactly sure what the orientation of this galaxy would be. Let's see if we can figure it out by looking at some additional wavelengths. And here's the 2 mass. This is infrared wavelengths. And it could be an elliptical galaxy, or it could be a galaxy which has its jet directed toward us, the observer, here in our local solar system. No indication of any real shape of that galaxy or anything like that. We could be looking down the jet, or again, it could be an elliptical galaxy. Again, that's our featured object. It's galaxy IGR 20187 plus 4041, a Seyfert 2 galaxy, which is entry number 930 at the Neil Gehrels Swift-Bat X-ray Observatory transients page. Once again, there it is in infrared. And there's a great high-res visible image of that active galactic nucleus. Continuing on to the astronomy picture of the day. It's some sort of Illuminati stuff that will have people very frightened. It's an eclipse on top of a building. And somebody will assume that there's some sort of satanic ritual going on in the building as this occurs, of course, because people are frightened of things in the sky for some reason. I won't get into it on the Daily Space Weather video. That's our cosmology segment. It was integrated to the Daily Space Weather. We've got over 200 videos that aren't on our playlists at youtube.com/smashomash/playlists. So check it out. Let's get back to the space weather. Now looking for charging hazards. We don't see any at the moment. Electron flux is just at nominal levels. Here's the 1-year chart to put it in context. That's from solon.info. Here's the 3-day chart. And we haven't seen warning levels here for a few days. That's measured by the GOES 16 and GOES 17. Here's the forecast. And I would tend to agree here that we're going to see a big uptick in the next about 48 hours or so. 36 to 48 hours perhaps. Something like that would be my guess. Next, the total electron content forecast. which is essentially the inner Van Allen belt's electron content. And here's a visualization of that. Some GPS errors happening here in North America, as well as the Indian Ocean there. You can see some anomalies happening. A little bit of chaos happening there in the electron flux. Some Antarctican high-density electron regions kicking up there as well, giving us a little bit of insight into Earth's magnetism and so on. Electrons are very light, and so they tend to move around when there's chaos going on in Earth's Van Allen belts. Next, a diagram of the ionosphere, showing you where the F layer is, because that's our next animation here from Australian Government Bureau of Meteorology. It's the ionogram for the previous day. Each color blob here is showing you vibrational frequency in megahertz, millions of vibrations per second. We're seeing quite a bit of anomalies here, quite a few anomalies happening of both the high and low frequency variety. And we'll show you the anomaly map here to give you some better insight into that. So if you're seeing a high frequency anomaly, it'll look blue. Low frequency anomalies are red, and this is the anomaly in megahertz from the 30-day median. Massive low frequency anomalies there all the way from Siberia down into the Indian Ocean. And huge gyrations there in the anomaly gram there, especially places like west of South America. Once again, perhaps giving us some insight into Earth's internal structures. Anyway, here's the latest image. That's 10:45 Universal Time. And there it is on the anomaly gram. Things looking actually normal at that point with respect to the 30-day median. And next we've got your standard issue daily space weather bonus features. Massive filaments down here in the southeast continue. There will be additional coronal mass ejections in the coming day or two. We've already seen some. We're forecasting more. That's called a coronal mass ejection warning. Next, your latest intensity gram and latest magnetogram to show you just two sunspots. They've both degraded over the past day, although this one has gained a few additional little dark spots here. So that one could be fixing to produce some more flares there. That's the most active region at the moment. It could turn into a beta class sunspot if those become legit umbrae. And next, the GO 16. There's some current imagery for you. Note the time and date stamps. We'll be streaming this live a little bit later today, most likely on Twitch, twitch.tv/smAsho. And we'll close out things with some SDO imagery. Here's 304 angstroms. All by itself, it's ionized helium. Great view of those filaments in the southeast. It looks like some activity there below the southeastern limb, so that could certainly cause some filaments to eject. Again, coronal mass ejection warning in place. Likelihood of major flares is not there. And thanks everybody who helps us out to continue to create these videos. Please become a member of the Smash team. Increase the likelihood these videos will continue to exist, remain publicly visible and free for all to view. And may that solar wind be at your back.